Hello and all, my name is John Clare. This is John's Dark Art and you are very welcome. Today's episode, John's Dark Art, episode 6. I've decided to call this one Weapons of Choice. Now, up until now I haven't really kind of named the episodes ahead of time, but this one I thought was going to be quite interesting. The reason why I'm calling it Weapons of Choice is not so much, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about it in the literal sense in terms of, doing harm to anyone, so to speak, but more down to the fact that, what are the different tools that we use in order to create what we create. Now, I've kind of gone into it a little bit before with the technology that I use, like my iPad and programs and yada, yada, yada. But I thought it might be interesting this time to kind of talk about it in a more holistic sense, rather than kind of limiting yourself. Like, I think it's a really good idea, generally speaking, and in my personal point of view, as someone who does do various different disciplines, that I feel that having multiple creative outlets, at whatever level you happen to be at, I mean, we all start from ground zero at the end of the day, but, for me personally, my weapons of choice, my different, the tools and implements that I like to use, the type of creativity that I like to engage in. I like to draw, as is well established by now. I like to do photography. One of my both, stills and time lapses. And obviously recently we've engaged in doing these YouTube videos. And I think it's been quite helpful and quite useful for me, because having all these different types of creativity means that I'm always creating. I think that kind of leads me to kind of like thinking about things like creative block, artistic block, writer's block. It's something that's broached quite often. It's something that I've encountered quite a lot. It's not even like you lack motivation, because the want to create is always there, I think. But what seems to happen sometimes is that you, especially if you don't have a schedule, you don't have a routine, again, like I said before, Twitch has really kind of helped me, because I have to set a time in which I'm going to draw, and I have to maintain that schedule. So in terms of drawing, that's great. In terms of doing these YouTube videos, myself and Roman, we have our allotted times in which we can work together to do these. So in order to keep up with our schedule, that's what we do. We say, right, we're going to start at this date, we're going to do this, do this, do this. So schedule's important. Having a structure is important, but also like having a variety of different outlets is important. For me, like I said, photography's been a great help for me, because I started out taking a lot of photographs with my phone. Not this one, but like my old iPhones. If I was on holiday somewhere like Barcelona or Paris, I'd take lots of photographs with my phone. But then when I ran into the limitations of just taking photographs with my phone, obviously more modern phones have a lot less limitations on them, but they are still limited compared to most cameras like the ones we're using here, our Canon cameras. Yeah, so when I ran into like the limitations of that, then I was like, okay, I need to buy a proper camera. So I started off with a Canon M3, and I've been building up ever since. But I started off getting into photography because initially it was like the idea was to take reference images for my drawings. And then it became a love of the act of photography, and now I take photographs for fun, and that in itself has been a really useful creative outlet for me. Like recently I took photographs of a local band, Mona Haze. So there's some photographs up here for you to have a look at, should you choose to. Well, you haven't really got a choice in the matter, you're going to see whether you like them or not. It affords me, it has afforded me other opportunities. And also the fact that, while you're being creative and doing different things, it also puts you in touch with other creative people, puts you in touch with new ideas, puts you in touch with, people you can collaborate and work with. Again, myself and Roman. Like the reason we're working together is because when we first met, what did we talk about? Oh yeah, we're both photographers. We both like taking photographs. We both like, what cameras do we use? What photographers are we influenced by? Roman's actually been a great resource for me in terms of photographers. He brought me a beautiful Ansel Adams book once. That love of photography then became like what we're doing now, like the cameras that we used to use just to go out and do photography together is now like the cameras that we're using to shoot these videos. A great thing about taking on different skills is that you develop different skills. I know it sounds really blindingly obvious, but if you're engaged in many different pursuits, and if you're doing it because you love doing it, because you love what you're doing, you're actively developing your skills, and because you love what you're doing, you're getting better at what you're doing. You hone your craft, and also, like I said, like being able to do different things, and sometimes they can tie together in unexpected ways. So I think if it's all possible, don't get me wrong, start with one. If you like to take photographs with your phone, start doing that. If you like music, then by all means pick up an instrument. Don't be spending massive money to begin with. Whatever you do, build into it. You'll invest more over time. More expensive gear doesn't necessarily make you better at what you do. And not only that, if you get involved, especially when it comes to gear and that, don't be buying gear that's too advanced for you. Like I said, when it came to photography, I started off with my phone and then built up from there. When it comes to drawing, I started with a biro and a piece of paper when I was a little kid, and only over time did I start, investing a lot in materials, whether that be inks and pencils and things like that, or in technology, like with my iPad. Start at the basic, hone your skills, build up, and once you feel, and then try and add more strings to your bow as you progress. And also, because like my what's the word I'm looking for? I'd say my aptitude is very much towards visual arts, visual storytelling, whether it be video work, doing stuff on YouTube, photography, and my love of art, my love of creating art. I'm very much into the visual side of things. But if you're a guitarist, what's to say you also can't be a photographer? Why can't you then use those? Because if you look at it this way, say you're in a band and you're the guitarist in that band and you're pretty good at it, but if you're also the band photographer, you can be taking photographs of you guys while you're rehearsing, you guys while you're playing gigs, behind the scenes kind of things. You could do lots of interesting things in terms of having different skills, and that then will help you, get to wherever it is that you're going, And also, to be honest with you, if you're good at multiple things, that makes you more valuable, whether that's in terms of employment or just in terms of the work that you produce. Don't limit yourself as much as is possible. Don't get me wrong, we've only got so much bandwidth. There's only so many things you can learn. There's only so many things you're going to be capable of doing to a high enough level, if that makes any sense. But by the same token, don't limit yourself in terms of one. If say for instance, if you're a writer, photography is actually a really useful tool to have. If you're a writer, say you want to write about location. I don't know, maybe you want to set something in Paris, then go to Paris and take lots of photos. Get a feel for the place, take some videos or whatever, get a feel for the place. I think there's lots of ways in which you may not necessarily expect how your different skills may be able to help you further down the line, and how they can how interoperable they end up being, and sometimes in very surprising ways. So I want to round this out pretty simply. Try and engage it as much as possible in terms of your creativity, in order to help your creativity. Try to engage as many different skills as possible. Don't limit yourself. Also, if you want to avoid creative block, if you want to avoid blank page syndrome, have different pursuits. If you're struggling with picking up a pencil to draw, then maybe pick up a camera or pick up a guitar, or sit down at your laptop and start banging away at a script or something. Try different pursuits. Also, and I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again anyway. Also, scheduling. Pick a day, pick a time, pick whatever. If you say all you want to do is write on Saturday morning between 10 and 2 p.m, then do that. It's like anything else. The more you kind of stick to the schedule, the more you can get into the rhythm of it. Then there's not as much setup time. You don't have to kind of ready yourself. You just know, okay, by 1 o'clock I'm going to be doing that. So you end up just doing it. You know, it takes time to establish these kind of habits, but once you do, it's easier for you. So yeah, variety is a spice of life. Try and vary your skills, schedule your times, and get creative. Put it out in the world in whatever way you see fit. My name's John Clare. This is John's Dark Heart, and you have been very welcome. Until next time.